Hey, kia ora. Helen Brums here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you've all had a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Porch Light Letters podcast number 2212. Finding beauty along the way. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. But first, I have a story for you. This happened today. I'm about to choke on my saliva and apparently spray myself with water. Okay. This is just power and course for the day. So I have this woman who is interested in sparkles, and she came out last weekend and had a look at it, gave me a deposit for it, and then we arranged for her to come back with her brother and a couple of friends to replace the battery in sparkles, because I'm selling sparkles as is, whereas and the battery died a long time ago. So they came out. So we were arranging to meet at 10:30 this morning, but the training class I was doing ended 30 minutes early. So I sent them a text message to say, hey, my class has ended early. I can meet you at around 10 o'clock this morning at the gate. They texted me back 15 minutes later to say, we're already here. I went, I'm on my way. And they know I only live like about 10 minutes from the RV park. So got my stuff together, went over there, got there. And they, in the meantime, sent me another message, but my phone was in my pocket and I was driving. And they'd gone out for a drink and they were coming back, wanting to know if I was back already. And the gate was open, so they drove in. Of course, I wasn't there yet. So I get there and I see them parked on the other side of the gate. And so I wave at them and punch my code in. Nothing happens. Nothing. Zilch. Zero. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm supposed to star the 4 digits and then pound. So I did it again. Nothing. No beeps. Not even a beep. So I thought, did this beep last time when I was here? I couldn't remember if it beeped or not. So tried it again and then tried it pound number then star, but it's actually star number then pound. But no, it wasn't working. So I pull out my phone. There's no on-site office at this place. It's all dealt with remotely. And texted them to say, hey, I'm here at this particular storage facility and I can't get in. My code is not working. Can you please help me? I have buyers coming to see my RV. And heard nothing back. And I thought, let me try calling them. So I called them up and she said, we just did an update in our system. So your code may need to be reset. So while I'm working on that, I'm going to manually open the gate and you go do what you need to do. And then your code should be ready when you need to leave. I said, great. She said, okay, well, manually opening the gate now. And I said, nothing is moving. She says, what do you mean? I said, the gate is still closed. And I said, my potential buyer happens to be on the inside of the storage facility because the gate was open. So they thought I was already in there. So came on in. And now they're trapped inside the RV storage and I'm on the outside in the parking lot trying to get in. And they're like, code's not working, gate's not opening. Let me have a look at something else. She goes, it looks like we've got a power outage in the area. I went, great. This is how do I get my potential buyer out of there? And so going backwards and forwards, and she said, there must be some construction around there. I said, there is a ton of construction around here. I said, it's been going on for months. In fact, it's been going on for at least 2 years because that's how long I've been at the storage facility. And so she says, let me get this going. And so she tried a couple of things, put me on hold, went on to APS, which is the power company here in the area, and came back. And so I explained through the gate to my potential buyers what was happening. And I said, just let me wait till they get back. So they came back on and said, APS can't give us a time of when they will have the power back on, but they're aware of the problem. I mean, great. How do I get my buyers out of the park? Because they're trapped in there right now. And so she says, I'm going to have the manager call you. So the manager called me and explained to me that we could go to the back gate. There's a back gate in the facility that is manually operated, not power operated. And I said, great. I says, how do I get in? And so she says, I'm going to give you the code to the padlock that's on there. I went, okay, because it's a combo lock. So she says, but you just need to get there. And I says, well, how do I get there? I said, I'm at the front gate. They're on the inside. I need to get them out. And so we chatted backwards and forwards. She gave me the directions to get there. Out here, take left, take left, take left. Boom, boom, and it's there on the left. I went, okay, fine. So I went and explained to them what was happening. I said, just meet me over at the back gate. And I noticed the car with them and a car sitting next to them. And I said, and let those people know too that they can get out at the back gate. Great. So they went off to the back gate. I said, give me about 5 to 10 minutes to figure out where this thing is because I've got to go around the streets. So I turn the car around, go to pull out and go to the left, but can't go to the left. There is road construction going along there. And the road construction says detour to the right. This lane was closed. The lane going to the left was closed. And I went, pull out my phone, look on the maps and figure out this is where I need to go and how can I get there? Okay, if I go down here, I can take this road and that should get me there. Right. So, of course, I didn't have an address to plug into the thing. So I go down there, I see the road on the right. So I take the road on the right, and then I see and I looked at the thing and went, oh no, that's not the road. And then I get up the next one and go, oh, there's the road I need to take. So I turn right on the lane and I'm going down. I'm following the UPS truck driver. And I can see further ahead that he is backing into a driveway of a house further down the road. So I get down there and find it's a dead end. There was no sign at the beginning of that road when I turned in to say it was a dead end. It's like, darn it. So I turned around, drove back out, took a right onto the road that I was on and hit a T intersection. And I'm like, oh, this must take me down there and get me onto this road and I can get onto that road. So I take a right, another dead end. I'm like, why do they not label these streets dead ends? So I turned around, went back out, and this time I went across the top of the T, got out to the other street that goes through, and kind of just put my nose out there, looked at this way, looked at that way, and thought, okay, this one looks like it goes through. Drove down there, found another street, and I could see cars going zoom, zoom, zoom across the top. And I was like, great. Obviously, it's going to a main road area and probably to the one I need. So I get onto that road, go down there, get to the road I need, take a right. And now, of course, I'm coming from the right on this thing. Go down and I find the little lane that I need to take. And I'm thinking, if I came the other way with that on the other side of the road, I would not have seen it. So I was like thankful that the way things worked with the roadworks and everything else, I had to approach from a different way, in a way I would see it. And I happened to now be following an APS pickup truck. And it turned down this little lane. I went down the little lane and off I went down there and finally got to the area where I needed to be, got to the back gate. They met me at the back gate because I said, we may need help opening the gate because they told me it's a heavy gate and we might need help rolling it open. So that's why they were meeting me back there. Got the lock out there, got it, and I couldn't get it. I got the code and I'm like looking at the code and I'm like putting my glasses on. Then I'm looking up at the sky because the fighter jets from Air Force Luke Base are busy flying around and they're going, instead of going like this, they're flying around in this big circle on their side, on the tip of their wing. And I'm just sort of like, oh, this is so cool. And then it's like, how long? Focus back here. And I'm just, and the guy looks at me and he goes, what are you doing? I says, I'm watching the fighter jets. He goes, aren't they fun to watch? I says, yes. I said, I love watching the fighter jets. And so I said, but I've got the code in there and now it's not opening. And he says, maybe it's like my one. And he says, you got to press it before it opens. And so we pressed it and it popped open. We got the gate open. I then drive in, we go down to the RV. And meanwhile, I'm now back on the phone with the manager to let her know I got in the back gate. And she says, oh, they tell me that the power is back on. And meanwhile, as we're driving down to where the RV is, we notice that over here there is a pickup truck with a trailer that's leaving and heading towards the front gate. Now I can see the keypad for the gate from the row that my RV is on. And so we get to the RV and I'm talking to the person, the manager, and she says, okay, they tell me that the power's turned back on, but our cameras are not working. And so she said, we might need to reset the breakers. I said, where's the breaker box? I'll go, tell me what I need to do and I'll go do it. So we left. So I went and unlocked the engine panel on Sparkles, left the guys to change the battery out. And the woman who's buying it, her and I went on down to the breaker box because they told me there's a lot of switches. So I figured we can both work on the switches. You know, one of us work high, one of us work low, and we'll get the switches done. We get there. We can't open the breaker box. And so I'm on the phone with the manager saying, I can't open. I says, this is where I am. I'm standing here. This is what I see in front of me. She said, well, there should just be a handle that you just pull open. I said, there's no handles to pull open. And so she said, and I said, I'm on the left of the gate and I'm standing behind the pad that goes out. But I said there was a pickup truck that actually left. They were stopped at the pad, punched the number in, and they left. I punched my number in and it won't open. And she's like, So she describes to me what I'm looking. I describe what I'm looking at. She goes, yeah, you're in the right place. You should just go to that right panel and pop it open. I said, no. I said, they've got a lid on the top which overlaps the thing. And I says, I can't get it off. And so she's like, I'm going to have to come down there and figure it out because she says it should just open. I've left it so that people can get into it. So if we need somebody to reset them, we can do that. And I said, well, it's not been cooperative. I said, now there's a little box. And she says, no, it's not the little box on the right. It's the and I described to her what was in the front. She says, yeah, you're standing in the right place. And I said, we can't get it open. I said, we cannot get the lid off the top. I'm going to need like some tools to like pry it off or something. She says, no, it shouldn't be that way. She says, I'm going to come down there. So she said, so when you leave, go out the back gate, close it, but don't lock it, and just text me when you're leaving. I says, okay, we can do that. So we get back to Sparkles, and the guys have got the battery in. And I like unlock the door and all of that. And they're finishing up hooking up the battery. I open the door and the screen and hook them all up. And I go back, I reach in to get the step stool because the steps haven't been working with no power. And as I'm reaching in to get the step stool, something's pressing against my leg, and I'm looking, we've got power. The stairs were coming out. I was like, yes. Said, that's a good sign. And so we went up the steps and got in, and I said, are you guys ready for me to turn it on? And I was like thinking, now my dad said we've got to find the lever, but there is no lever because it's inside of the gas tank at the back, and da-da-da-da-da. So I said, we're just gonna wing it and see what happens. And remember, this vehicle has not been turned on in 2 years. In fact, it's coming up on the 2-year anniversary because it was either the 30th or the 31st of August that I turned it on, and we moved it from the campground to the storage unit. So it was like thinking, okay. So they finally said it's clear, I can turn it on. So I sat down in the driver's seat, and you can't really pump the accelerator because it does this sort of like as you push in, and then it comes back out again, and it goes like it's on a little motor or something. So I turned the key, and the dashboard went flash, and then it went dark. I went, something's not right. They said, why is that? I said, the dashboard just flashed me and it's gone dark. And so the guys like fiddle around with in the engine bay, and they go, okay, try it again. Turn the key. She came straight up to life like she had just been turned off yesterday. That RV just, boom, ignited. Second time we tried the key, she came to life. And I looked at the guy next to the brother who is helping his sister purchase this. And he looked at me and he goes, thank you for that, because he wanted to hear the engine running to see what they needed to do. And I said, now, when you come and pick it up after we close this deal and everything else, I says, first of all, the registration is not current, so it needs to be registered or get a temporary one. I don't know what the tires are like because I don't know. I can only tell you about the front two. I can't tell you about the other four. And I said, so you're going to have to get it roadworthy insurance and all of that sort of stuff before you can take it out of here. And I said, and I looked in front of me and I said, hang on, there was an RV sitting there on Saturday, wasn't there? And he's like, yeah. And I says, okay, if that RV is not there, then drive straight ahead so you don't have to back up. So the engine fired up. We left it going for like about 30 minutes. And we had this nice cool breeze coming through. The AC was working beautifully. So they got to see the AC on the dashboard working. All the buttons for the tanks were working. The lights were not. And I said, you're going to have to ignore some of the lights. I said, especially the black tank. It always says it's full when it's empty. Yeah, it's just the sensor in there probably needs some cleaning. He's like, okay. And so they were able to hear the engine. They said, oh, is it okay if we take the cushions from the dinette to go and get them reupholstered? I said, not a problem. And so they removed the cushions off the dinette benches and got them taken out to their truck. And they said, is there anything we can help you with? I ended up bringing home a trunk load of stuff in my car. I haven't taken it out yet. It was a little emotional because I had Zeffie's feeding bowls in there. I had her food container. I had her bedding that she would use in different, not the bed that she would lay up on the dashboard on. That's the one that used to lay down here. It's currently out in the garage. But there was other bedding that's so like when we were outside, I could toss it down on the patio and she could lay there on the patio rug and she could lay on that for a little bit of comfort and that sort of stuff. So that got a little emotional picking that stuff up. But we got a trunk load of stuff, and I said I'll be back on Saturday or Sunday to clear the rest of the stuff out that I want to take with me, plus the trash. And they were sort of like, oh, you don't need to worry about that. We can take. So they're going to once we complete the sale, they're then going to take the RV. They're going to go to the DMV first to get the title transferred into their name. And of course, we're going to fill out all the back of that and all that sort of stuff. Get the temporary registration done because here in Arizona, you have to have an emissions check. So they're going to get like a 3-day, whatever it is, so they can at least drive the vehicle from the storage to his place where she's going to park up for a couple of weeks while they get everything cleaned out, get it set up how she wants it set out, get the upholstery done on what needs to get done. And basically get her all stocked up and everything else. And so I've told her there's different things I'm going to be leaving behind She says if there's anything you don't want, that would be useful. So like she's getting a vacuum cleaner, she's getting a broom and a dustpan and all that sort of stuff. And the pots I'm leaving in there, they've got handles sitting in the drawer because they all stack inside each other. So I've told her that, and I said, here's the handle for them. And like the electric kettle that's in there, that's going to stay in there. And there's just a couple of other bits and pieces that on the heater. And I said, this is a really cool heater. I said, it works very, very well, but only use it when you are awake and in the vehicle. I said, don't leave it unattended. Don't leave it going at night. I said, at night, I said, what I would do is that I would have the thermostat set to come on at 55. If it dropped below 55 in the night, I sleep hot. I like cool temperatures to sleep in. That's why I'm not sleeping very well these days. I said, so I run hot when I sleep. I said, so I would just have it come on at 55 if there was have the RV heater itself come on at 55 if there was if it dropped below that. And I said, this heater I would only use in the evenings or during the day if I needed a little top up on the heat. I said, but most of the time, I said, it's a really good little heater. You only need it on for like 20 minutes and you're turning the thing off because it's sweltering. I said, it's a very effective little heater and it's ceramic. So she was sort of like appreciative of that. So she's getting that as well. And I pulled out, what's this box? And I pulled it out and go, oh, there's a mini shredder here. I said, you want that too? She says, yep. So I just put it back underneath the couch. I already have 2 shredders here. I didn't need a third one. Like I said, and I told her, I said, I'm getting anything electrical. So anything electrical that is in the RV, I'll probably leave here for you and you can decide if you want it or not. So yeah, I'm going to go back on Saturday and Sunday to finish clearing out what's in there. And then Monday we're going to meet at the bank. They're going to bring the money in. We're going to meet at the bank. We're going to do the deposit and then we're going to go, they've got a little seating area. We're going to go sit over in that seating area and sign all the paperwork. And then the RV, and I'll hand over the keys and the RV will be theirs. And she's going to keep the name Sparkles. So, and then it's all of their responsibility. And I just need to notify the storage thing that I have sold the RV and they are going to have it out before the September 1st. So I just need to notify them on that. But so it looks like Sparkles are sold, not celebrating just yet until everything is signed and sealed. But that was our adventures today. Oh, now we're going to go. No, I haven't even talked about today's topic, which is finding beauty in along the way. So that kind of talks about today because there was a lot of beauty in today and the fact that we had a situation that I kept a cool, calm head about. I didn't get upset about it. You know, things happen. I just looked at it as a fun adventure and like, I go down a dead end road and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'll just start laughing, turn around, head back out again. I said, maybe I should pull up the map on my phone and check it again. Nope, we're good. I'm going to come across, but then I was like, but you got people waiting. Nope, we're good. I know I've got to go down here so far and then come across there and then and do all this. Yeah, we found it. It was fine. So now on to today's topic. Sorry, this is going to be an extra long one. I'll try and get through this pretty quickly. Finding beauty along the way. It's episode 4 of the healing path this week. And the healing is really a straight path. It curves, pauses, and surprises us. Along the way, there are small, unexpected moments of beauty that gently remind us we are still alive, still moving, and still capable of joy. We found a lot to laugh about today with this whole thing. It was just a comedy of errors. What it teaches is that beauty can exist alongside pain without dismissing it. Healing is not about reaching the destination, but noticing what sustains us along the journey. When we pause to see, hear, or feel something beautiful, we create small anchors of hope. And those are places that you can go back to pour a little bit of energy on, things that you can think about, recall them and memorize. Our perspectives shape our ability to notice the light tucked within the shadows. And I can tell you, after today's adventures, I could have turned that into a whole sort of like, nope. I just kept a cool head and just rolled with it. I mean, there's nothing I could do about the power being out or anything else. It's just like, okay, this is the situation. How can we fix it? And just kept asking that question the whole way and not getting upset about it or anything else. In fact, it didn't bother me. I just kind of like started laughing. That's the only way I could get through it. What happens when you intentionally look for beauty in ordinary moments? You allow awe and gratitude to coexist with grief and uncertainty. You soften your pace and let the journey teach you rather than rushing through it. You honor the tiny sparks of life as signs of resilience and restoration. Oh, I had lots of resilience today and restoration. Good stuff. It was all good. How we carry forward, practice slowing down enough to notice what's right here, right now. Let yourself collect moments of wonder, no matter how small. The fact the engine turned on, that was a huge. I was expecting it to turn on anyway, just because I know my vehicle. And so I was just expecting it to turn on. It didn't the first time, so I just said, the guys, it's not turning on. I said, and so it turned out there's a bad cable on the battery that needs to be replaced. So that's what the guys who replaced the battery said. But I didn't like start freaking out or anything like, oh my God, it's not going to start. They're going to want their deposit back. Blah, blah, blah. Yep, no. And so it's just like, just stay calm. We need to do this. We need to do that. They said it was fine to try it again and turn that key, and she lit up straight away. No pause, no nothing. What did I get up to? How we carry forward. Practice slowing down enough to notice what's right here, right now. Let yourself collect moments of wonder, no matter how small. Hold beauty close, even when it feels fleeting. It builds hope. Allow these moments to remind you that healing is already happening. And on our legacy connection, when we make space for beauty, we model for those that healing isn't about erasing pain. It's about expanding our capacity to hold sorrow and joy at once. That is the true path forward. And here are our reflection questions for you. Down below in the description down below are the first 15 volumes there with their links there, as well as the original journal is down there too. And if you scan the QR code, it will take you directly to the original journal. Excuse me. There's also a link below that, above that list for the journal, which will take you to our community. We actually have a Porch Light Letters community built on School, and we've got free membership right now. So if you want to come and join us in that, the link to do that is there as well. And we've got daily reflection questions, daily quotes. The podcast replay will be on there as well as on our YouTube channel. And every Tuesday morning, on Tuesday, we start doing coffee mornings. So Tuesday mornings around 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, we will be getting on there and having an event of sitting around chit-chatting and having a cup of coffee or tea or water or coconut water, whatever your preference is in the morning. So here are your 4 reflection questions for today. Where have you recently noticed beauty in the midst of your healing? A box of chocolates that arrived yesterday. I have to tell you about the box of chocolates. So you all heard I got the box of chocolates yesterday. If you were listening yesterday, that had this really cool wrapper on it. Happy Doggett. Doggist. This is what they do every August, apparently. And for a donation, you can get this really cool wrapper that goes around your box, and you're supporting sheltered animals. And they do Doggist to celebrate the birthdays of all the dogs in the shelters where they have no clue what their birthdays are. So that's when they get a whole month to celebrate. Isn't that cool? So the chocolates arrived a little melted, which means that the little picture thingy that comes with it that tells you which chocolate's what is absolutely useless right now because they've all changed shapes and all that. Some of them you can kind of recognize. So it, I remember, it takes me back to Forrest Gump, to the movie when he says, "Mum's like, Mum said that life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get." I have the guide. It's useless. So I just pick up a pile and try. Some of them are really good. I've had a couple of really good chews, and I love the chews when they've been refrigerated because they get hard, and you sort of like, joy in the moment. So that is my beauty in the midst of healing. What's one small thing today that made you feel grateful or grounded? Sparkles started. How do you allow space for both your sorrow and your joy to exist together? You find ways. What does finding beauty along the way mean for your journey right now? And in closing, beauty doesn't fix everything, but it changes how we walk through it. Sometimes it's enough to pause and say, this moment matters. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, Conrad.